Well before the controversial Halo TV series, we almost got a Halo movie produced by Peter Jackson, written by 28 Days Later scribe Alex Garland, and directed by District 9's Neill Blomkamp. Unlike the show, it would have been a faithful adaptation of Halo Combat Evolved, staying true to the game's intense action and world building while being brought to life in the gritty, raw style that Blomkamp would later become known for. So let's dive in and find out why it never happened, and also take a look at what could have been Peter Jackson and Neill Blomkamp's Halo. After Halo's explosive debut in 2002, it didn't take long for Hollywood to come knocking on Bungie's door. But at the time, the game developer was just diving into Halo 2's development and had little interest in handing over creative control to a Hollywood studio, especially considering Tinseltown's horrible track record of video game adaptations. Microsoft, however, saw things differently. As the game's publisher, they recognized Halo's cinematic potential. A high-octane sci-fi epic packed with intense shootouts and rich mythology was the perfect formula to be adapted into a summer blockbuster. As a result, Microsoft would approach talent agency CAA to help them navigate the complex process of bringing Halo to the big screen. Unlike most game adaptations at the time, they were determined to bring some level of creative control to ensure the film stayed true to the game's lore. Peter Schlessel, the former president of production at Columbia Pictures, was then brought in to be one of the main negotiators with studios and serve as Microsoft's Hollywood liaison. Schlessel advised Microsoft to finance the script themselves and provided Bungie with a short list of potential writers. Among the names was Alex Garland, best known at the time for writing 28 Days Later. Coincidentally, Halo Cinematics director Joseph Staten and composer Martin O'Donnell had recently watched the film while in Los Angeles, while recording voice dialogue for Halo 2, and had already speculated that Garland would be the perfect writer to tackle a story involving the Flood. Garland would be hired not long after, as work began on writing a script for a Halo film that would then be pitched to studios. When Microsoft set out to bring Halo to Hollywood, they approached the process with the same confidence and control they exercised in the gaming industry, but they severely miscalculated how the movie business actually worked. Inspired by the high-stakes, auction-style deal that had been orchestrated for the day after tomorrow, they wanted to dictate the terms of the Halo adaptation, believing it was a surefire blockbuster that studios would fight over. Their demands were steep, $10 million up front against 15% of the box office gross, a minimum $75 million budget, fast-track production, creative control, and even extravagant perks like first-class flights and VIP premiere tickets for Microsoft executives. They weren't even willing to invest their own money beyond paying for the script, nor would they sign over merchandising rights, something that studios typically rely on to recoup costs. Microsoft also insisted on flying in a representative from Seattle to oversee every stage of production, ensuring the film remained faithful to their vision. To generate buzz and sell Halo as the next big cinematic event, Microsoft hired actors to wear custom Halo Spartan armor, and had them personally deliver scripts to studio executives, creating an air of spectacle. For Microsoft, it was a power move to assert dominance and build excitement, but for seasoned Hollywood insiders, it came off as a gimmicky stunt rather than a serious business negotiation. As one executive recalled, you either wanted to make a Halo movie or you didn't. Having a guy in a costume wasn't going to change your mind. Despite the theatrics, most studios quickly passed on the deal, finding Microsoft's terms too demanding. By the end, only two contenders remained, Fox and Universal. Microsoft had hoped to use them as leverage against each other, expecting a bidding war that would drive up their payday. But in an unexpected move, the two studios simply joined forces instead. In a single moment, Microsoft lost all of its bargaining power, and what had started as an attempt to secure the most lucrative rights deal in Hollywood history ultimately failed, and set Halo on a path towards development hell. Peter Jackson, a self-professed fan of the game and who was deep into production on King Kong for Universal at the time, signed on as a producer, lending Halo his box office pedigree. However, Microsoft wanted Jackson to direct the film himself, but he was exhausted from directing King Kong and wasn't looking to take on another massive project. Additionally, with Jackson's directing fee reaching several $million, the studio saw an advantage in hiring a more affordable, lesser-known director to take the reins, much to Microsoft's dismay. Alex Garland's version of the script stayed remarkably faithful to Halo Combat Evolved, translating the game's action and story almost beat for beat. The year is 2552, and humanity is locked in a brutal war against a fanatical alien alliance known as the Covenant. After a desperate lightspeed escape from a massive space battle, the human warship Pillar of Autumn stumbles upon a massive ring-shaped structure around a moon. But before they can make sense of it, the Covenant arrives and launches an attack. With the ship on the verge of destruction, Captain Keyes entrusts Master Chief, an enhanced super soldier known as a Spartan with protecting their AI, Cortana. Containing critical military secrets including Earth's location, she can't fall into enemy hands. With Cortana integrated into his armor, Master Chief ejects to the surface of Halo, only to discover that the ring is more than just a strange alien relic. It's a superweapon left behind by an ancient race called the Forerunners. As the Covenant closes in and a terrifying parasitic force known as the Flood is unleashed, Master Chief realizes the only way to stop total annihilation is to destroy Halo itself. The film concludes with Master Chief destroying Halo in a massive explosion, narrowly escaping with Cortana aboard a Pelican dropship. As they begin their long journey back to Earth, 160,000 light-years away, a Covenant capital ship suddenly emerges from slipspace, cutting their escape short and forcing them into an unexpected battle. The post-credit scene would have revealed 343 Guilty Spark, still intact, drifting through the wreckage of Halo. While Garland successfully captured the spectacle and intensity of the game, the script's biggest flaw, which was always going to be a challenge when dealing with a faceless protagonist, was its handling of Master Chief, who's reduced to a reactive figure who simply follows orders. While this structured mission-to-mission progression works in a game, it makes the film feel predictable and devoid of surprises. At the same time, Master Chief's lack of characterization makes it hard to connect with him. In the game, players naturally project themselves onto him, but in a film, he needs to be a compelling character in his own right. Another major issue with the script was that while its faithfulness to the game is admirable, it offered nothing new for those who had already played Halo Combat Evolved. It simply retold the same story. Guillermo del Toro would be the first director attached to the project, and he attempted to address this very issue, pitching Master Chief having an evil twin that sided with the Flood. The end of the movie was then going to be brother against brother. However, the Bungie team was less than enthusiastic about this idea, as del Toro would leave to direct Hellboy 2. To fill the director's chair, Jackson handpicked Neill Blomkamp, a rising South African filmmaker known for his innovative commercials in the short film Alive in Joburg, a raw, documentary-style film that used aliens as a metaphor for apartheid. Blomkamp was eager to bring a gritty, militaristic aesthetic to Halo, one that would later define his signature style. However, he quickly realized that Fox wasn't on board with his artistic vision. His gritty approach, characterized by shaky handheld footage, tactical realism, and immersive radio chatter, clashed with the executives' expectations for a polished, conventional summer blockbuster. Fox hated me, Blomkamp admitted. I think they would have gotten rid of me if they could have. They weren't happy with the direction I was going. But I'd played Halo, I understood the world, and I knew my vision would have been insanely cool, more fresh, and potentially more profitable than just another generic Hollywood film like G.I. Joe or some crap like that. Meanwhile, Meta Workshop, the New Zealand-based effects company co-founded by Jackson, was hard at work bringing Halo's universe to life. They built real-world versions of the game's weapons, Spartan armor, and even a fully functional Warthog assault vehicle. Blomkamp would put these assets to use in a series of live-action test shorts, providing a thrilling glimpse of what his Halo would have looked like. The footage would later be repurposed to promote Halo 3, serving as what producer Peter Moore described as the legacy of a movie never made. Meanwhile, Peter Jackson and his team at Wingnut Films became increasingly interested in bridging the gap between games and cinema, leading to the creation of Halo Chronicles. Unlike a traditional video game or film, Halo Chronicles was envisioned as an entirely new kind of interactive storytelling experience, blending a cinematic narrative with moments where the audience could influence the story's progression. Jackson described it as neither a passive movie nor a fully player-controlled game, but something in between. Though details remain scarce, Jackson emphasized that this was not simply a Halo movie tie-in, but rather a bold attempt to redefine storytelling itself. So what went wrong? As development dragged on, tensions between Microsoft, Fox, and Universal began to boil over. Blomkamp found himself pulled in multiple directions, with Microsoft, Fox, and Universal each pushing for their own vision for the film. Additionally, the studios were growing increasingly impatient with the film's slow progress and ballooning costs, especially since there was still no finalized script, as Blomkamp and Jackson wanted to make a movie that wasn't just going to be a carbon copy of Combat Evolved. With $10 million already spent and multiple parties demanding a significant share of the profits, the project became financially top-heavy. According to producer Peter Schlessel, it was Microsoft's unwillingness to budge that ultimately killed the deal. Neill Blomkamp echoed this sentiment, explaining that Microsoft was not a typical IP holder who would simply license out their property and let a studio run with it. Instead, they wanted a massive share of the profits, while also maintaining some sort of creative control. With Jackson also taking a significant cut and two studios forced to split whatever remained, the financial return on Halo became less and less viable. In October 2006, just before a major payment was due, Universal and Fox made a last-minute demand. Jackson, Fran Walsh, and producer Peter Schlessel had to significantly reduce their share of the profits or the studios would walk. After consulting with their partners at Microsoft and Bungie, Jackson and his team refused, and in a single stroke, Halo was dead. With that, Halo, once one of the most anticipated video game adaptations of all time, vanished into development hell, leaving behind only Blomkamp's test footage as a glimpse of what could have been. However, rather than dwelling on the failed project, Jackson and Blomkamp began exploring alternative ideas.
Fran Walsh, it was actually Fran's idea. She was like, why don't we just keep all of the momentum and the energy going that we have here and just do another film?
Eventually deciding to produce and direct respectively District 9. The film, based on Blomkamp's earlier short Alive in Joburg, repurposed several props and designs originally created for Halo, ensuring that while the Halo movie never materialized, its influence lived on. Thanks for watching, everybody, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Bullets and Blockbusters for more great content.